Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal, and we are discussing the investments that are going into the warehousing sector and what the future is in terms of the potential of returns as well as the exit mechanisms. And Yash as well as Alok and Anshul are right here in the studio with us. Now, we were discussing the various aspects between, international investors. Now, HNIs are looking so keenly at it. So, Alok, what is the return parameter expectation, considering that we already discussed the development risk is being taken by the HNIs?
So there are two aspects here, Nisha, that we should see. So if I see a completed warehouse, and hypothetically, if the warehouse is grade A, and it is going to a grade A quality tenant like a Amazon or a Flipkart or a Mahindra's, then the rental yield is 7 to 8% at best, 7% more likely, and so that is the thing. So at 7%, nobody is interested at taking it. But if you are able to tie up with, say, an organized player, and therefore people are, when they're taking the development risk, the option is that am I able to make something between 18 to 20%.
Yes.
Now the beauty is, if you do it yourself, you have to do all the getting the approvals, processes, bank loans, land clearance, everything, and then finding the tenant. And why would an Amazon talk to you, an individual? Amazon will not talk to an individual. And reason I'm using Amazon's name, because they've been in recent times they've been the biggest users of warehouses.
Yes.
So that's the reason. So it becomes very inefficient to get that 20% plus. Now, moment you come into a fund structure, all these things are taken care of. There is an organized way of doing all these things. And the return expectation does not get tempered down, because yes, you're taking the development risk that will also take individually, which the HNIs are willing to take. They understand land, they understand India. So if you are getting that 18 to 20% return, being in an organized player, where you can participate in the size and scale, I think that is the beauty. And as Anshul was mentioning and as Yash was mentioning, you see it as a pre-REIT or a pre-InvIT fund. Now today, you have so many REITs and InvITs that have got listed in India, like an Embassy or a Power Grid and all. Now they are trading at an X price, but the developer has entered obviously at the early stage. And even if you look at a Blackstone entered an Embassy at a pre-REIT stage.
And they made a killer
return on that.
That's one of the biggest.
Exactly. So the idea is the same opportunity.
It's the same opportunity that you're looking at. And are you really betting on some of the entry barriers to this particular sector, which not everybody can deal with, and especially the very political and sensitive place of land acquisitions?
Yes. Oh, my favorite topic. It's my official title should be land buyer and not managing director, I feel sometimes. But that's the area of the business which is the most complicated.
Yes.
That is also the biggest risk when we look at a project and underwrite a project. Now, land in India has inherently is a complicated topic.
Yes.
So there is very little any government can wave a magic wand and fix that overnight, just because of the way land is originated from our history in India. Remains the number one challenge, to be very honest, but also for a company like Welspun, it's the number one opportunity.
Yes.
Because we're so good at it. We know how the world operates.
Yes.
We know how to buy land. We don't take aggregation risk. Yes. We have a very rigorous investment committee, which is, by the way, independent now. It's a very highly governed body that takes these calls. So for us, it remains a big opportunity. But for most people, it remains the biggest entry barrier and the biggest risk. An area of land acquisition is when people start to getting the Superman mentality, and they start taking unusual calls in terms of buying cheese holes or buying pockets of land which may not develop.
Yes.
I don't think we would ever do that with investors' capital or our own capital into a fund.
Yes.
So we pay a significant importance on due diligence, clearing it. So, for example, in the West, we work with a DSK law firm or a Wadia Gandhi. In the North, we'd work with a similar
it's a lot of work to get a clean
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work
in India.
Yeah, absolutely. Even for us now, it's a significant amount of our time goes into that.
But that could be a USP for a developer, local developer.
Yes, it could be.
That could really take you long in that particular business.
Absolutely.
So Yash, what do you think about the exit opportunities? So from whatever I've heard, it sounds like a pre-REIT InvIT kind of a scenario. What are the exit opportunities that you see?
The interesting part in this is, because of the growth story that we are talking about, right? I think the exit opportunities what we have today will only multiply in the future. The standard ones that are there is the minute you have an income producing asset or a rent yielding asset as a stabilized warehouse becomes, you can sell it by warehouse, each warehouse by itself, whether to an individual investor or to a company, or you could sell it to a REIT. Or you could become a REIT yourself, or you could even become a listed company if you want to, and if you want to institutionalize the business and just become a development company. So what the beauty of the business, the domestic business that Anshul and the Welspun group is leading, is the fact that they have all the opportunities the international guys have, and some opportunities which the international guys typically don't have in that case. And the international guys love it because the international guys are saying, listen, we want to place billions of dollars of capital, but we can't go out and buy billions of dollars of land. So if a Welspun one is comfortable doing that, let them go out, buy the land, let them build the warehouse, let them get the tenant, and we'll just buy the entire portfolio out and give a huge return to their investors. We are happy because we want to place a lot of capital. They're happy because they make a lot of return.
And just to add to that, just 7% return even for an international takeout capital is escalating at a 5% per annum. So on a 5-year window, it's a 12% unlevered return. If you lever it, even that, and then of course the REIT has an appreciation story and all of that, it's still a very good 14-15% return mechanics after the juice has been removed on development, right?
But it's definitely more beneficial than a proper IPO or a listing.
Yeah, so the IPO or a listing in our space would effectively be a listed REIT, Nisha, which we would probably never list the company, right? But the listing, the major benefit of listing is liquidity. So if it's a listed instrument, then say, tomorrow if Welspun One does do a REIT in the future, or any other platform does do a REIT in the future for warehousing, you can now put 500 rupees and invest in the warehousing return, and then 6 months later, if you don't like it, you can sell it. Right?
Yes,
I think that's the biggest.
And it also depends on how large is the listing and what kind of investors you want.
Of course.
So if it's a large listing, which is what Welspun One will probably be aspiring for, then those investors, which are typically international investors, are saying, I don't want to get into an IPO of a listed company because the money then stays with the listed company. What they will do with it, I don't know. And the value of that listed company's stock is based on its future earnings. I'm not sure of all that. I much prefer a REIT where I know exactly what I'm buying into. I know I'm getting distributions every year from that. It is very tax efficient for me, and I'm not at the risk of the promoter reinvesting that capital in the future. My capital comes back to me.
So that cash distribution that is done by REITs and InvITs is one of the big pull factors, and also fixed income combined with equity gives a lot more investors.
And that's the best way to explain it. It has the benefit of a fixed income and yet the upside of an equity.
All right, so it looks like that logistics and warehouse is going to make a big way into REITs and InvITs eventually, but it has to reach a critical size for that to come in. And the entry of HNIs into that investment is also giving a lot of positivity in terms of its growth path and building in terms of scale. All right, thank you so much, Anshul, Alok, as well as Yash, for this riveting conversation on all the aspects of warehousing and logistics and the investment there. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Big Deal. Thanks so much for tuning in.